Okay, so I had a burning question. Why don't I see the Cabal in very many games? Now, I know why I wasn't using the Cabal. I felt like the Animancer is really cool, both in terms of its art design and its mechanical design in the game. All of it seemed intuitive and functional. You can provide healing to your army. You can provide AoE splash damage. You can even provide a bit of this stealth speed element with its third ability, but usually the first two has you covered. And between those two things, the Cabal just, by comparison, didn't feel like a fun choice, but it also didn't necessarily feel like an effective choice. Now, we haven't seen very many pro games, and to be honest, most Celestial pro games involves a lot of moving forward and attacking with like your very first couple of structures, which is its own kind of fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, highly aggressive games are also fun, but you don't get to see every unit come out. And maybe that's why you typically don't see as many Cabal, but then again, you do see Animancers. So I thought I'd jump into a game, or several games, and go for almost exclusively Cabals every game. Testing out different units that could go with them, so not literally mass Cabal, or rather not Cabal only, but lots of them, or a few of them sprinkled in. I messed around with it, tried to figure out what works, and really get a feel for what the Cabal is about, what is it good at, what it is bad at. But the very first thing I have to do is admit something, that I went on this journey for science, to discover what the Cabal is all about. But I was a coward, and I did not test fully the Cabal. Never once did I actually research and use the ability to take enemy units. I know that seems incredibly strong, and like the reason why you would get the Cabal, but I had two concerns, and largely those were that the Cabal has to channel to get those units. And so, if you have to channel to get those units, then there is a couple of seconds of the fight in which you have a bunch of units that aren't doing anything. And I was worried that if I did that, then I would end up losing the fight. And so I almost feel like, just off the top of my head, that unit is only really able to take other units if you're already winning the fight. I could be completely wrong, and I don't know, because I didn't test it, again, because I was a coward. I will fix that in my next round of testing of the Cabal. But for now, the first two abilities, there's already a lot to unpack. Now, my first game, I went exclusively for the Cabal and Ardents, or Argents. Cannot get that fixed in my brain. They are Argents, but that just does not feel right in my mouth and doesn't stick in my brain. Sorry, guys. So the Argents are okay. They fall off. If they don't have energy, they're the worst. And that went very poorly. So the next game, I tried to get the Cabal out faster, so not massing Ardents so much in the early game, getting more Therium, and getting more Cabal out, and then trying to mix in Scythes. I don't know why I thought Scythes were a great pairing with the Cabal, but it felt like they're tanky, and so like they could fly forward and kind of tank for my units. And you might be wondering why I didn't just make Kree for that, and the reasoning was simple, that the Cabal can lift units into the air, and I wanted to be able to shoot those units in the air. So, that was my thought process, and also the building of lots of Argents means spending a lot more Luminite, which means more Ethereum for the Cabal, and I fixed this in my next game. So the next game I did, I actually decided to go for some Kree, at least. Yeah, it was spending my Ethereum, but I was starting to feel like it's not great to have a ton of Cabal, but instead you just want a few. Now, the next thing I found is that the Argents suck when they're out of energy. Right? If you play a lot of Celestial and if you play a lot of Kree, then you know that the Kree don't need energy. So unlike the Argent, the Kree can actually keep fighting. And so if you have a lot of Kree, then you have a lot more sustainability outside of your base, where you have your power cores. Or power banks. Power banks. So, the next game, I try to go for some Kree. I mix them in. And I got pretty walloped, to be honest. I think I didn't actually watch the replay on that game, but I think he just had a lot more bases. It was the spiral base. In fact, you're probably seeing footage of that now. I'm probably having that playing for you, so you can kind of see some of the Cabal while I talk about it. But the issue I found was, one, I'm pretty sure he was just way bigger than me. I think he had way more expansions. I have this mental block about expanding my economy beyond 3 bases with the Celestials. So, but that has nothing to do with the Cabal. Right, so the Cabal ran out of energy very, very quickly. And then my army was worthless because I had Argents without energy, and I had Cabal without energy. I had nothing but tickle cannons and a flimsy army. I got destroyed, and that was sad. However, the Kree, I felt, did add a lot. It gave me more sustainability, more tankiness. The army didn't clump in the back as much, which meant that the Cabal were actually making it to the front to fight. And, interestingly enough, the other synergy is because the Debilitate ability is working on a on typically a autocast basis. It's just kind of tagging whatever units, and that meant they had a harder time actually kiting away from the Kree. So that's the first synergy I found between the Cabal and the Kree, is that they can chase units down better. And that actually was nice, because while it's not great for your own retreat, because it doesn't debilitate everybody, they end up running out of energy very quickly because they're just spamming Debilitate, which, by the way, if you plan on using the other 2 abilities, maybe take a few of them, at least a few of them, off of autocast, because otherwise they'll burn all of their energy on that. Yeah, I found that a couple of times where I went to go lift units and just didn't have energy because it just spammed it all. So anyway, the second synergy, though, I found with the Kree was that the Kree can't shoot up, but their damage is quite good regardless of whether they have energy or not, and the Cabal can bring people down to the ground. Now, some of you probably thought that immediately when I was like building Argents specifically to shoot things that I picked up in the air, because a lot of the units you're dealing with are ground units, but actually the ability to ground air units is way more important. Maybe maybe more important. So flying units tend to get away very easily from ground units. You just fly away. Especially if the Vanguard is using the rebase ability, then they get a lot of speed. And the grounding ability can stop them from getting away. It doesn't last too long, but that was actually huge. So that was the second synergy between the Cabal and the Kree. is that you can bring units down and you can attack them, which means the Cabal can kind of act like anti-air for your Kree, even though they're not really the ones doing that much of the damage. So I really liked using the Kree with the Cabal, and I am not here to definitively say that that is the combination. But I actually kind of feel like the Cabal might work really nice with Archangels, because the Archangels have the ability to fly, and you can lift units up to attack them there. That's probably not the most useful interaction, but you can do the same exact thing of grounding flying units that want to get away from your Archangels swiftly with their flying ability. So, anyway. That didn't go too well in testing. I usually was losing the match by then. I felt like I couldn't find a rhythm going for Cabals early. Maybe there's a nice build order, maybe my ratios were off, building too many Cabals, not enough fighting units. But the point is that when I started massing Kree and opening the game stronger with a lot of Kree, and I did supplement with Argents still. You have to spend that Luminite somehow, and also I do feel like the ranged damage was indeed necessary, but the other major change I made, which I felt like was an absolute game changer, is I did the smart thing and actually built a forward base where I had the ability to restore my own units. Now, Celestials, just a quick tip for you. If you play Celestials, or if you're playing against Celestials, Celestials really wants to go in and then out. In and then out. Because they need energy for a lot of their units, not all of their units, but a lot of their units to actually do well. Now, the Kree did give me some longevity, but being able to retreat and charge up my units again gave me a lot more use of the Cabal. And that, I feel like, was one of the major game changers. I do actually really like the Cabal now. I think I will be mixing it in a lot more. I think unless if you're really good at the game, mixing Animancers and Cabal might not be the play. But I will say a lot of abilities can be autocast now, which is kind of nice. I say autocast now like this is new for Stormgate. With Stormgate, unlike a lot of other RTS, autocasting abilities is very helpful. But a lot of the more useful ones are still locked behind more proactive activation of the abilities. You have to do it manually. So, the Cabal were good. I do feel like they provided a lot of tankiness to my units, because the Debilitate does slow down their attack speed. It functioned great with the Kree. Without the Kree, it was much more difficult. But the last thing that I will say about the Cabal is that it might just be the best thing for breaking a siege line, because the ability to run up and lift up all those Atlas tanks that are all sieged in place, big old game changer. I think probably better than even using Archangels to break a siege, because the Archangels land on the tanks, which are usually in the back, right? Because they're protecting their tanks. They land on the tanks, and then they try to beat them down, but they attack fairly slow. They do good damage, but it takes a while to kill those tanks. And so either your Archangels are unsupported during that time, or you take a second to send your units in, and because of the range of the Atlas tanks, your Archangels, as tanky as they are, they usually end up dying before you're able to actually get everything you need out of them, which in this case was the destroying of tanks. So, yeah, I think the Cabal is quite good. I think it's good to just supplement your army with because of that Debilitate spam. But also, if you've got a siege line, then take off a bunch of those autocasts, store up some energy, and go in and break that siege line, because Argents, at least initially, are great at picking off units while they have energy, because they hit pretty hard. And then you pick up several of those tanks, you reduce the incoming damage by a lot, you pepper the tanks, and then you bail, get some more energy, and go back in. But you also do really need the forward location, because otherwise the problem comes in that after you try and pull away from the first fight, the Cabal just don't have the energy for the next one. And I did try to use the heavenly rays of energy gifting. It's probably the actual title. I have no clue. I don't remember. But it simply wasn't enough. It was not enough. That was great for charging up my Argents for another go, but the Cabal themselves were not able to get enough energy to really get use out of it. So that's everything I've found out about the Cabal so far. The next time I talk to you about Cabal will be to figure out the best way to utilize that ability to steal enemy units. Other than stealing enemy workers, which I feel like I don't have the mental capacity for. Like, if I have command post and arc ship and 2 army, that's just too much for brain. But either way, you'll find out what I have to think about that next time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Our forces have engaged in battle.